construction phase itself. It is one of Nepal's first LEED certified properties, and we must embark in a similar routine when we start investing within the hospitality industry. So, as we embark on today's discussion, I encourage you all to actively engage with our esteemed panelists, listen to their diverse experiences and expertise that is offered through the unique opportunity to gain a deeper understanding of how ethical leadership and sustainable practices can be effectively implemented in the hospitality industry. Let us make this event a more catalyst, inspiration, and action. Rather than just talking about the overall general concept, let us also talk about how implementing this in our context of Nepal and into the tourism and hospitality industry will not only thrive economically, but will also respect our planet, our community, and us as people. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Aslisa, for your insights and for sharing your expertise with us. Your words have been inspiring and valuable to our discussion. I'm honored to introduce our moderator for today's panel discussion, Ms. Manisha Tabang, Senior Academic Counselor at IIMS College. Ms. Tabang will lead our discussion and facilitate the Q&A session. Please join me in welcoming her.
Thank you, Sama. Namaste and pleasant good morning, everyone. I'm Manisha Thaman, and it is my absolute honor to serve as your moderator for today's hospitality leadership talk on the theme Leading with Integrity, Ethical and Sustainable Practices in the Hospitality Industry. So before we begin, extend a heartfelt welcome to our distinguished panelists, university dignitaries, hospitality professionals, educators, and students who have gathered here today. Your presence underlines the importance of this discussion as we explore how ethical leadership and sustainability are shaping the future of the hospitality sector. So, to provide a brief, the hospitality industry is more than just luxury, comfort, and service. It holds a profound responsibility towards guests, employees, communities, and the environment. Sustainability and ethical leadership are no longer optional. They are essential for long-term success and positive industry transformation. Today, we delve into how industry leaders are embedding these values into their operations, ensuring that hospitality is not only profitable but also purpose-driven. I'd like to pause because there's some technical issues.
क्यामेरा आएगा मेरोमा स्विच गर्नु यसमा just
Apologies. I think my video was off during my introduction part, so I'd like to continue. I ended. So I'd like to start with the brief of the topic. To provide a brief overview of today's topic, the hospitality industry is more than just luxury, comfort, and service. It holds a profound responsibility towards guests, employees, and communities and environment. Sustainability and ethical leadership are no longer optional. They are essential for long-term success and positive industry transformation. So today we delve into how industry leaders are embedding these values, uh, into their operations, ensuring that hospitality is not only profit, but purpose-driven. Well, we have an exciting session ahead, insightful discussions, and expert perspectives. As a moderator, I won't just be asking questions, I will be learning alongside all of you. And to our panelists, if you ever feel the need to contribute your perspective to a question directed to another speaker, please feel free to do so. Let's give this session interactive, engaging, and thought provoking. So, with that, let's get started. Delve into our discussion, I would like to introduce our esteemed panelists, each of whom bring a wealth of knowledge and expertise to today's conversation. Their diverse backgrounds in hospitality leadership, education, and research will provide us with valuable insights into ethical and sustainable practices within the industry. So, first, I would like to introduce and welcome Associate Professor Dr. Kandapan Balasubramaniam. Dr. Kandapan Balasubramaniam is an associate professor and head of School of Hospitality, Tourism and Events at Taylor's University. With extensive experience in hospitality, education, and research, he is at the forefront of developing innovative strategies that bridge academia and industry. His work focuses on preparing future leaders with the ethical and sustainability driven mindset required in today's evolving hospitality landscape. Welcome, sir. So, second, I'd like to introduce and welcome Mr. Sachin Pradhan, a seasoned hotelier and former academic director of BHM at IIMS College. Mr. Sachin Pradhan is the corporate director of operations at Solti Hotel and Resorts, one of Nepal's most prestigious hospitality brands. With extensive expertise in luxury, hospitality, and sustainable practices, he has been instrumental in integrating responsible business operations within high-end hospitality. So welcome, Sachin sir. And the third panelist is Dr. Elisha Chan. Dr. Elisha Chan is an assistant professor at CUSK Business School and the associate director of the Center of Hospitality and Real Estate Research. She is a leading expert in sustainable tourism, business sustainability, and industry best practices. Last but definitely not the least, our final panelist is Professor Silky Lee. Professor Silky Lee is a renowned academic in the field of hospitality management at Sejong University and serves as the director of Tourism Industry Data Analytics Lab. His research focuses on data driven insights for sustainable tourism development and the role of emerging technologies in shaping the future of ethical, and sustainable hospitality. A warm welcome to you all, and I sincerely apologize in advance if I mispronounce any names. Please feel free to correct me. I really appreciate it. So I think it's a go sign for me. Okay, with that, let's begin. Now that we have met our STEAM panelists, let's dive into our discussion. We have divided the questions into certain segments to ensure we comprehensively cover every aspect of today's topic. Our focus will range from ethical leadership and sustainable business practices to real world case studies and the future of responsible industry. So I'd like to direct this first question to Associate Professor Dr. Kandapan Balasubramaniam. So today's key elements for discussion are ethics, integrity, sustainability practices, and the one who implements them is the leader. A leader plays the key role. So as a leader yourself, how would you define ethical leadership in the context of hospitality? Is there any difference, or what differentiates an ethical leader from a traditional leader in this industry?
Thank you so much, Ms. Manisha. First of all, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the IIMS Nepal campus for the kind invitation, especially to Mr. Ashwini. Thank you for taking me a part of this wonderful discussion, which is a hospitality leadership talk. So I'm here also to share and also to learn more from other speakers. Thank you for the opportunity because there is a quote, success is best when it is shared, right? So we need to share our success story. So coming to the question, is my voice is audible? Good enough? Okay. Yes. Oh, okay. So the leadership in the hospitality industry, it is, I'm talking about the current shift is happening in the industries, is all about how you are serving with purpose. The one important question is the purpose. Why we say purpose? I think even in our university, we have started moving towards purpose-driven learning approach. So we need to create our graduate with a purpose they have in their mind. Similarly, it applies when they go into the industry space, how they are going to apply the knowledge they gained, purposeful knowledge during the entire journey, how they are going to apply. So according to me, is serving with purpose, inspiring with empathy, and navigating complexity with integrity. Maybe I would like to repeat again. So current industry, the landscape is all about how you serve with purpose, inspiring with your empathy because we are human. I think the COVID has really taught us how you should apply empathy in people's under your role. Means as a leader, it's more about how you take care of your people. And especially the very important thing, navigating the complexity with integrity, especially why say it is very complexity because of the development of the generative AI made the entire world talks about the ethical issues and ethical implications, right? So when it comes to the hospitality context, as a leader, it's not just managing your operations. Yes, we manage the operation just to make our owners happy with the a very good liquid flow, revenue generation, but how we can create a meaningful experience for customer. That's what important nowadays, right? And very important second thing, how you are going to empower your team, right? So the moment if there is a lack of empowerment, it really increase your attrition rate, which is made, especially our industry. The one of the biggest issue we always facing is the workforce. I think through the empowerment, definitely we can address this issue and making decision that upholds the business goal and very important human values. So whenever as a leader, if you're in a position to make a decision, please try to remember the decision also includes your human value. So when I put it in a nice way, number one, you have to be a visionary, seeing big pictures, but anticipating the changes. Nowadays, it's very important. You dream big, but the world is changing too fast, especially the technology driven. A lot of natural calamities happening, even the recent one in Myanmar, right? So how we are prepared, the resilience skills are very important in the leadership context. Number two, how adaptive we are, right? I think during the last big crisis, COVID, we come across a lot of innovation, embracing innovation while staying rooted in service excellence. During the COVID, the innovation was so much happening in our industry. This is where people started working together, looking at innovations, sustainable. When I talk about innovation, I say sustainable innovation, service innovation, product innovations, and the process innovation and the administrative innovation. So innovation is not only technology innovation. Sometimes the people have a misperception. Innovation is all about technology in today's world. Technology is one type of innovation, right? And very importantly, ethicals, how we uphold the trust, then fairness and accountability, right? When we talk about ethical aspect, it is about, it's not only ethicals, how we are treating the people with trust, fairness, and more about accountability, the ownership, then becomes it's more ethical process. And very important thing, inclusivity, right? The creating a diverse and supportive environment for our team and also guests. We always need to take care of the entire stakeholders. Let's me quickly give an example in a simple way formula. Leadership is all about serving with integrity, empathy, and responsibility. Take a global example. The Ritz-Carlton really trains the staff globally with a golden standard, right? That embrace respect, trust, and integrity. We are ladies and gentlemen, we serve ladies and gentlemen. So this much of empowerment is required. Coming to the Malaysian context, Datai Langkawi really given an ethical hiring and guest safety. And I think even in Nepal, I come across some of the reading on ET Hotel, how they focus on community-focused leadership. And the last one, what we practice in Taylor's, which is more about how we involve our students in the leadership training program. One of our signature program, which we call STEP program, which is a student talent employability program. So we have our partners with Hilton, Marriott, and recently we also started with other groups, Milia, which is another Spanish group. So here, the hoteliers will come and do an adaptation in the year 2. From the year 2 until they graduate, they will train the students to become a leadership. So the moment it's like a hotel adapt the student, but they build the leadership during the learning process, which we call STEP program. Okay, I will stop here. We'll share more later.
Thank you for your insight, sir. My follow-up question was also like I think like from an academic and research perspective, how can ethical leadership be effectively taught and embedded with hospitality management programs? And I guess you have answered that as well. So you have highlighted that a leader is not just about operation. They can be dreamers, they can be full of, they can be inspired with integrity, morals. That's what is important. And yes, ethical leadership indeed forms the foundation for a responsible and sustainable hospitality industry. So now let's hear about ethical challenges from a practitioner's standpoint. And I'd like to direct this question to Mr. Sachin Pradhan. So, with over 16 years in the hospitality industry, you must have encountered various ethical challenges. Can you share an example of a real world ethical dilemma you faced and how you have navigated it?
Hi, good morning. Can you come up again? Because you're a bit low audible.
Yes. So, with over 16 years in the hospitality industry, well, you must have encountered various ethical challenges. So, what would we like to know is your example of any real world ethical dilemma you faced and how you navigated it.
Manisha, in my experience, being ethical itself kills lots of challenges. You have to be very, very ethical as a leader. Transparency is the name of the game. Like you have to be when your colleagues, when your subordinates found that you are not ethically correct, then you're no more leader. Be it hospitality or be it any of the industry, when you are ethically correct, when you are full of ethics, your morals become so much up that you won't find any challenges. Now, challenges is in terms of confrontation. You need to be able to confront in front of the people which is correct and which is not correct. As a leader, what I say is let's not be in a gray zone. Let's be either black or a white. Which is correct and which is not correct. But there is a way to confront it. Obviously, yes. But as I said, when I am ethically correct and I am being able to convince the people this is the correct way of doing it, then it no more becomes a challenge. It becomes a part of management. So I think being ethical itself kills a lots of, but one thing is that transparency. As a leader, you should be very, very transparent so that it gives your workforce to rely on you. You should be full of integrity, wisdom, and always be either in a black or a white room. And let you see the most challenges here is not confronting, not facing the people correctly. So while you become ethically correct, and you know that ethically correct, you are full of ethics, And the same thing, if you have been able to convince your team, then I don't think there is any challenges, be it any industry. As Professor Kandapan has already mentioned before, also the, like now the AI has taken over most of the manpower's brain, and there are lots of development going on. The generation is being changed. Now you say lots of what millennials are already in the workforce, but the basics remains the same. The good work is always a good work, be it any generation come into the workforce. So if we are being able to convince these points, and if we are clear on what our vision is, if our leadership is vision based or objective based, as professor said, purpose based, as we are being transparent enough to the team why we are doing this, there is a reason behind every madness. What is the reason behind me doing this and taking these steps and being able to convince the team? I think there won't be any challenges. Thank you. Yeah. I hope I'm being able to serve your purpose. I don't know if you want to know more, then you can always.
An example, but as you said, it's a day-to-day operation. Every day you have to deal with such issues. So your experience does highlight the complexity of ethical decision making in hospitality. To broaden the
That's what I
discussion.
mean to say, Manisha. The basics remains the same. Being a leader, we should always be able to convince the team on creating the best moments of truth with our client. Always try to always be very upfront in creating the best place to work for our colleagues, achieving the goals, and obviously protecting the human values. If we can give these things, the, don't you think everything comes like these are all ethics? Being a leader, one should be ethically correct, means he should be a well versed person to create the best moment of truth with the client, make your organization to best place to work, and achieving the goal of the owners protecting the human values. So it kills lots of ups and downs. So it becomes no more a challenge, it becomes the way of life.
To this statement, I would like to add another follow-up question. So, as you stated, transparency, fairness, and inclusivity are crucial in hospitality operations. So, what concrete steps can industry leaders take to ensure these principles are deeply embedded in their organizations? So, what can we do to really implement them? Like, there are any tricks, tools for that? What is it? What is it?
Setting up the culture so that whether you are there or not, the culture is followed. And yes, it is inevitable, it is subjected to change. Being a leader, we should be more focused. Are we being able to give a room to grow? Because see, today the generation has changed. What's there for me is the first thing. I'm joining Taylor. Why I'm joining Taylor? Now in today's time, their objective is very clear what they are going to achieve after 4 years of the education. So being a leader also, you should be like industry leader. You should be able to give them, show them what are the rooms for them to grow. We should always teach them how to aim higher. At the meantime, we should always embed the culture of celebrating the differences, embedding human values. These are, if we can do, in my point of view, if we are able to embed these things as a work culture in your organization, then this will work.
Thank you for your input. Definitely, culture, growth, and values. It is one thing that makes me get up in the morning and come to work. So, definitely what we look forward to. Um, the next segment includes implementing sustainable practices. And I'd like to take this question to Dr. Elisha Chan. Your research focuses on sustainable tourism. What are some emerging sustainability trends that hospitality businesses must adopt to remain competitive and responsible?
Yeah, so well, again, thanks for the invite, and I'm very glad to be joining this distinguished panel. And you're right. So I've done research, but currently it's mostly focusing on the tourists. And I think it's interesting how when it comes to, sustainability, people often criticize the companies by being kind of like they're just talking the talk, but they're not walking the walk. And I think interestingly, I find the same thing from tourists. So kind of like the consumer perspective. Most of the consumers and even the younger like tourists, they will tell you that they care a lot about the environment. Like they want to, protect the future. They want to somehow maybe act more sustainably, act green. But we find that like in many of our research, many of studies, we find that basically people still value mostly convenience, right? So when you try to introduce a sustainable practice that somehow take away the value from the consumer, the convenience from the consumer, um, they are still upset, right? It doesn't matter if they are really pro-green, if they are really pro-environmental. And there's actually a lot of studies that exist that kind of support this perspective. Professor Donica, who's from the U of Queensland, so we do work quite closely together. And then in many of her research, she focuses on how behavior at home is different from behavior when you're traveling, right? And so to somehow explain the maybe the tourists not uh, walking their talk behavior, it's really because when we're home, we can be very pro-environmental. We recycle, we do everything we can to protect our home. But once we're on vacation, oftentimes, we try to, treat ourselves. We try to get away or escape from, our responsibility and maybe daily routines and stress. And in that sense, we find that most of the people also somehow ditch their sustainability practice when they're abroad, when they're traveling, right? So this is why I think, and this trend is actually quite prominent. So to me, at least from my vantage point, when I'm studying tourists, I think one of the really the best practice would be to try and understand the habits of tourists, and then somehow try to, by not changing people's habit, make them somehow act more sustainably. So one of my more current study, we actually are trying to see, do tourists actually somehow value maybe the opportunity to choose between a less sustainable option versus a more sustainable option. And the finding is actually quite counterintuitive because, in most consumer behavior study, in most marketing study, we often think that people want choices, right? So because it's the autonomy to choose whatever you like to your preference. But when it comes to sustainability, we realize that people actually don't mind not having the choice because giving them that option to choose between something that's more, let's say, sustainable versus something that's less so, actually put the guilt on the tourists, right? But when you're not giving them a choice, saying, we're kind of rolling this out, there's no more plastic, there's no more single-use amenities, there's no more like housekeeping every day. Um, by doing that, actually the traveler, the tourist, or the guests at a hotel, they would think that the hotel that's offering these services and maybe trying to be more sustainable, they are more legitimate, right? Because they're actually just implementing these sustainable practices and not really giving the tourists a choice. So I think maybe this is really the trend, right? So hotel will have to be somehow, maybe they have to do more work, more research on understanding what's the maybe the best technology to somehow install, implement on the property, and then just explain it to the tourists, right? And in that sense, it will actually maybe increase the pro-environmental act and the impact, as well as customer satisfaction, because now they don't feel guilty if they, if they don't choose the sustainable option, which is sometimes less convenient.
Thank you, Dr. Chan. Thank you for highlighting that consumers are being more aware of their choices, and the business are actually taking a look into it. You know, they are looking into what their consumers want, what the sustainable practices are. So these trends are indeed shaping the future of hospitality. So again, I would like to add a follow-up question to this. Sustainability often requires significant investment. So how can businesses balance financial viability with their sustainability goals?
Yeah, so I'm not sure if I'm the best person to answer this question, but from most of the investors that I know that that are in hospitality investment, I think they understand that it's kind of like 10 years ago or even 15 years ago, when companies are considering implementing self-serving or automation technology into their property, right? They always feel like, okay, this increase the cost because I have to somehow incur costs in implementing this type of technology. But then after a while, they understand how automation really does increase like satisfaction and then also help them reduce costs in the long run, right? And I kind of think that it's the same for maybe sustainability investment. So most of the time, you'll find that in the long run, this is really not something that you can avoid, right? If you don't implement any of these sustainability practices or maybe technology, I think you're simply kicking the can down the road. And in the long run, we do think that this will become something that's a given, right? So maybe people would really think that sustainability is just part of the service. It's just part of the quality perception, right? And without it, you're just going to be perceived as having lower quality. So that's one aspect. And another aspect, which I actually heard from someone who's owner of hotels, and he mentioned that I know every single time when there's a pitch to me about a property and investment, they always talk about sustainability. And when they do, I just kind of think that this is typical, this is normal. However, if there is someone who try to pitch an idea to me without consideration of ESG, of sustainability, then that's when I would challenge them. Like, why isn't there this aspect, right? So I think it's interesting maybe to think of it that way in order to justify the value for sustainability investment. I don't know. I probably, other panelists would have a much better expertise in this area to answer this question than me.
No, you definitely answered well, ma'am, and thank you for sharing your perspective. The next question I'd like to direct to Mr. Sachin Pradhan. Your hotel operates in the luxury segment where customers' expectations are exceptionally high. So, how do you balance delivering high-end hospitality while ensuring sustainable business practices?
The motto is sustainability is the name of the game now. Like now the customer, especially the corporate segment, has started looking for what extra this hotel has contributed back in to the environment. Because when it comes to the choice, most of the hotels are 5 stars, 6 stars, and 7 stars. Most of the services are all almost the same. If you talk about the room, if you talk about the food and beverage that we serve, and if you talk about the ambience, most of the hotels try to give the best. And that is expected. Now, the thing where we can make ourselves different is contributing towards sustainability. Now it's a time to save the environment and taking the business in a long run. So, like it has to be either it is not necessary that the sustainability steps that any hotel takes have a direct impact on customer. For example, let's take an example STP, that is sewage treatment plant. It has to do nothing with the client. The guest who comes to your hotel is less bothered about your sewage treatment plant. But while constructing the hotel, if we can take these things into consideration, then we are contributing our best in terms of sustainability back to the environment. Another example we could give, like using electric vehicle and giving a electric charging station at your hotels, which has a dual benefit, you see, even in the footfall of the hotel. And plus, the client also gets some services. But simultaneously, it's contributing towards sustainability. It doesn't impact, it has nothing like, it has nothing directly impacting the client, but as a responsible business house, as a responsible hotel chain, multinational, this is one of the best way in contributing towards the sustainability. And another thing, another example I could give you is recently Sulti Hotels and Resorts, we have tied up with a agent called Gham Power. It's a sun power, going solar, using all electric solar panels. Most of the day, energy is saved. In today's scenario, if you see our Nepalganj property, if you see our Kathmandu property, most of the properties are tied up with Gham Power, which gives a like whole day solar energy to the hotel, and very minimum of electricity is being used during the daytime, which has significant effect in our electricity consumption bills, as well as at the meantime we are contributing towards the sustainability. These are some examples from wherein customers are not directly involved, but from the organizational point of view, we are contributing. Another example, we've just signed with called Miyawaki system of forestation. I hope, Manisha, you're very well aware of it, because the in this forestation systems, most of the personals, they also take a classes in our IIMS college. They are teaching some innovative subjects there. Very young group of people who came to me with this idea. And I was 100% agreed. Now, from this Nepalese New Year, they are planting almost 1,000 plants in our hotels. And the Miyawaki system of forestation is as such Japanese system wherein they can make a hotel's garden into a dense forest within a span of 3.5 years to 4. This is also one of the steps towards sustainability, wherein the clients and our guests are not directly involved. We're not charging anything, and they don't, it's all about value for money. Even as like not keeping the clients into the odd situation, we can, as earlier the professor Elisa said, the behavior of the client at the home or the behavior while they are traveling is totally different. I totally 100% agree with it. And why should they pay? I mean, why should they do something extra, and why should they keep themselves into the inconvenience for the sake of sustainability practices of the hotel? That is another question they might raise, because they are paying for it, right? But by doing all these kind of activities, the clients are not actively involved, our guests are not affected, but yet at the meantime, the organization is contributing the best towards sustainability. And providing in-room degradable, I mean, room amenities. Nowadays, if you go and stay in any of our Sulti hotels and resorts, we make sure that we are using wooden handle. And believe me, it costs as much as the plastic one only. We are not spending more. But these are degradable. And at the meantime, we are educating our client. We are using all biodegradable products. It's clearly written there. We request our guests not to use, as Professor gave an example regarding the housekeeping also. We always give an option to our client. If you want your bed sheets to be cleaned every day, changed every day, please do this. If not, please do that, to save the water, save the life. Like there's we can do lots of activities towards sustainability without hampering the client. So, and sustainability is the name of the game. If you don't contribute towards sustainability, then that you won't develop that kind of a satisfaction as a business person in your heart. Like in your first question, let's be very ethically correct. Let's judge ourselves whether we are contributing enough to save our environment and leaving this industry for our future generation or not. So I hope I catered your queries. Thank you.
Definitely. So sustainability is the name of the game. And there was a great perspective on balancing sustainability with luxury hospitality. So what you highlighted is Solti Hotel not only, looks is looking into the sustainability matter for, for the customers, but it is what stands for. It has its core value from the sewage system, to the high-end operations. So it itself is the the build up, not on just for the customers. It just balance it out. So thank you for your perspective. Also, I'd like to know is Solti Hotel is the luxury hotel of Nepal, and it's one hotel that even few Nepalese get to visit. Maybe even I have visited only twice, maybe. So, what I would like to know is, has there been any issues or any complaints regarding customers regarding these sustainable practices? And I guess not, but I just wanted to know if there's any issues that had been filed recently.
See, Manisha, this is what I was saying. Black is black and white is white. When we are saying we want a clean environment, we'll deny on the fact. No one will. You see, the
Thank you.
clients, the customers are also not that they are not the one who will say black to white and white to black, When we say, let's say the environment, for example, Manisha, if I say you should love your family, who disagrees here? No one will disagree here. So let's try to put forward the things towards our client as such a way that they also agreed and we are in the same page. Now, today, the Sulti Hotels and Resorts, we have a lot, we have increased, we have added up our properties in Berlin. We have added our properties in Frankfurt. We have our restaurant chains in London. But there also we practice the same, and the value of the people is the same. The answer is not that in Nepal they accept the step towards sustainability and they deny there. No, no, no. It's a universal truth that all the clients they also supports the good practices, be it of any see being a Muslim one or being a Hindu or being a Christian or being some ethnical group, they won't say any bad thing to the good practices. But yes, it's all about localization. You need to think globally and act locally. For example, wishing the guest is universally accepted, but how you wish locally is your thing. How you convince your client and how you show them the picture locally, that is more important. Somewhere, for example, somewhere they say assalamu alaikum, somewhere they say namaste, somewhere they say good morning, good afternoon, but after all we need to wish the guest. So this is also in even in the sustainability practices also we have a various ways, but looking upon the areas, looking upon the geography, looking upon the culture, we can do lots of things wherein the people will support you. And the time supports, I'll take you personally to our hotels and show you personally how it's been done, with how much cost, and with a very minimum effort, how can we make the best impact in the business also? Because business is very important. Today, I'm talking about sustainability. Today, we talk about big, big things from the business organization. After all, it gets connected with the business. It becomes one of the marketing tool for us as well.
Definitely. And
So
thank you for the
yeah.
invitation. I would definitely attend. Well, thank you for your perspective. Let's now look at real examples of businesses that are leading the way in sustainability. And this question I would like to direct it to Professor Siuki Lee. Professor, you joined late, but I'd like to welcome you again. So my question is, integrity is a key part of ethical leadership. How do you define integrity in business and why is it so important?
Um, well, first of all, thank you for welcoming me, and I think it's a great question. I guess integrity is used a bit liberally in this context, so I'm just going to apply my interpretation of that as having relevance to sustainability or ethical business practices. Um, I guess the reasoning through which uh, businesses value these practices have been somewhat mechanical, and this has been, I guess, a bit more improved by the fact that a lot of investments, including mutual funds and other types of funds, have focused on ESG strategy for the past, let's say, 5 or 6 years, notably. I guess the past 2 years we've been seeing a little bit of decrease, but at least now we have a mechanism through which where businesses would be responsible to report to their investors on how well they're performing in terms of ethical practices and how they are doing on the ESG front, so to say. So I guess because a lot of the investment strategies of institutions are now in line with the ESG guidelines in general, businesses, especially the public corporations, do have an incentive to manage that quite explicitly and well. Having said that, I think the corporations and majority of companies that are in the tourism industry, which are not public, which are not incorporated, still do not have as much of a clear incentive to strategically manage this, especially the leadership part. So I guess somewhat of a growth opportunity for small and medium-sized firms, and something of a long run return than immediate cost savings would be the logic to convince these entrepreneurs and businesses in general. But I think much of that, especially in Korea, is probably encouraged by government subsidies and of a similar sort. So they probably know in the long run, just like carbon, right? Emissions we know we need to cut, but no one really wants to start because the leader's probably going to take all the heat and the costs are quite immediate. So I guess that's where the public sector comes in. And I'm not saying just give away a lot of money, but some financial incentives, and probably that also comes with government recognition would be a good way to give them a easier start, so to say, jump start.
Yes, integrity is honesty and ethics are the moral you follow. So thank you, Professor Lee. Integrity truly sets the foundation for responsible leadership. So now let's explore how sustainability efforts are measured in the industry. But I have a follow-up question for this question. You analyze data-driven insights in tourism, right? So what does research tell us about the effectiveness of sustainability initiatives in hospitality?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question just once?
When I was looking at your profile, you analyze data-driven insights in tourism. So what does research tell us about the effectiveness of sustainability initiatives in hospitality?
Oh, another great question. I don't think it's very easy to answer. So I guess the E part has been addressed maybe too much at this point. And there are quite a few examples, and usually these are something of a model that most companies would follow because they're good, and it's important that they follow. So in terms of environment, we're all now talking about energy use, water, waste, and how to cut. And I think there were some great examples from the industry before. Not so much about SNG, and especially for S, I do have something to say about the gender wage gap. So I'm sure many people are aware that Korea is #1. I'm not proud of it. Among the OECD countries in terms of gender wage gap. So and this is important because I guess in the hospitality industry globally, there are actually more women working in the hospitality industry, including tourism as well. So there has been some publications on it. I also am getting one manuscript reviewed. It's my second revision or review, third review actually. And if you look into it, there are other confounding factors, but there is some undeniable, although not as big as what the OECD would suggest. After controlling for other factors, there is still maybe 6 to 7% gender wage gap. So, and this is very unique to hospitality industry. They say airline is bad, but actually it's bigger for hospitality industry. So something that we should definitely work on because we're everywhere. I think United States, Japan, Korea, we're having a severe labor shortage, and this is something that you don't want in order to attract good talent to the industry. Uh, the G part, so I don't think, and this is to the point that I was making earlier, because many firms are small and most of them are private, not public companies. I don't think governance has become a lot of an issue at this point, but also something that you might want to look into as your tourism industry is growing.
Your research, is it global based, or is it only in in the limited area of Korea, or
You mean
is it,
gender wage gap?
yeah, huh?
Gender
Come
wage
again?
gap.
Gender wage gap.
Oh,
Okay.
my study is it utilizes Korean data. We have labor statistics data that you can apply for release. I got it released, but it's not easy to get wage data that also comes with other information about the employees. So yeah, I wish I can collaborate with some of you if you have data.
Well, that was a valuable perspective on data-driven decision making. Thank you, sir. So my next question is directed to Elisha Chan, Dr. Elisha Chan. You oversee the Greater China Hotel Business Sustainability Index, if I'm not wrong. So what are some key takeaways from this research?
Yeah, so I would say that for the index, it is an initiative from our research center that is, of course, funded partially by the government. And I totally agree with what Professor Lee was saying earlier. Oftentimes, ESG initiative and maybe investment, it really needs motivation from the government. So this index, we've launched it for this is the 5th year that we're doing it. And we only focus on around 39 hotel companies in the Greater China area. And we can see that even just for 4 years of data, all the businesses are doing much better in all aspects of ESG. But what we find is it might not be because they actually improve on these practices. It might just be a matter of whether they know how to report these practices, right? So the index is not really kind of like a survey or anything that is verified on operations aspect, on the operational aspect. It's more just a way of our center trying to gather information, not just from their, let's say, annual report of these corporations, but also, we'll try to identify news in the media to see if there's any triangulation, right? So if they reported that they did certain, let's say, CSR activities, can we actually find some news about this reported somewhere? So these are kind of the things that we do. And in the beginning of this index, when it was first launched, I think our survey was maybe it had 50 questions. And after a few years, now we have like 150 questions almost, right? So you can see that we're also getting into the more granular level to try and really understand what companies are doing and not just, looking at their annual report. But still, so we talk to a lot of these hotel companies, and we focus really at the corporate level, right? So not really on the property level. And what we find is that most of the time, at the corporate level, they have a lot of strategy, and they are really somehow motivating, or maybe sometimes even obliging their properties to implement these practices. But at the same time, I think at the property level, it's when, the general manager would be like, oh, these are things that I've done, but I don't necessarily communicate it to, the external community, because they feel like I think it's kind of resonate, some of our panelists earlier, especially Mr. Prahan from Sochi. This is really something that they do because they felt like it's a good thing to do, it's the right thing to do, right? So promoting it somehow makes it sounds like it's greenwashing. So they don't want to even let their guests know that these are all the behind the scene sustainability practices that we have done. But by not reporting it, it hurts their score on these like ESG ratings, right? So we're really trying hard, especially maybe within the Greater China area. And one of the reasons why we have this index is to provide some kind of benchmark, right? And the reason why we stick at the corporate level is because we realize that at the property level, because there are guests like the customer facing, they actually feel less motivated to communicate this type of information. So we're trying to work with the people at the corporate level and then see how we can find the best way to somehow make the property level staff understand, or management teams understand that you're doing a good thing. It's okay to share with the customer, with the public, without having the burden of greenwashing. And I also kind of really agree with, again, Professor Lee and also Mr. Pradhan. Earlier they mentioned, like, so for instance, our index, we can really only cover hotels that are publicly traded, right? Because they have the strategy, they have the governance. But then for a lot of maybe boutique hotel that's also doing a lot of great things, like Sochi, you're trying to somehow implement sustainability practices across your global properties and destination. I think that's kind of the part that's missing from our research currently. And we do hope that in the future we can expand this to maybe independent hotels, boutique hotels, the smaller hotels that are also doing a lot of great things, even with the limited resources.
Thank you. That's an insightful look at the regional sustainability trends. And as you said, we know that we have to implement these practices, right? The business knows them, but it comes with challenges, right? So what challenges do business face when implementing large-scale sustainability initiatives, and, give a brief on how can they overcome them maybe? So yes, this question is also directed to Alicia Chan. Okay, sorry.
Well, to be honest with you, I think that for most of the hotel companies that we study, that we observe, because they're very resourceful, right? We're talking about, the big five, the big six. There's really not much challenge that they are facing when it comes to implementation. And they also have, you understand that when you're a franchise and when you have this type of a guideline for all your franchisee, I think it's pretty much just maybe the only hurdle would be to find the right local suppliers, to make sure that their material, the supply, the ingredients, whatever, are on par with the global standard. And maybe this, I guess from my vantage point, this is really the biggest challenge. But I think when it comes to implementation, the challenges is really mostly confronted by smaller hotel owners.
What you're saying is maybe look for the local support or local resources, that can help for the future long-term business. Okay, so thank you for sharing your perspective. Now let's shift our discussion towards leadership role in driving change, and we're at segment 4, which is leadership's role in driving ethical and sustainable change. And I would like to ask this question to Dr. Kandapan Balasubramanian sir. Earlier, we talked about ethical leadership, and what qualities it holds. So I would like to know what qualities define a leader who successfully integrates ethical and sustainable practices in hospitality.
Thank you so much, Ms. Manisha. And it was very interesting to listen to the other panels, especially Prof. Keeling, Mr. Sachin, and Dr. Eliza, talking on sustainability. Now we are coming leadership. right? But it is connected with the sustainability, which is very important nowadays. What I mentioned earlier, as a leader, you should have a purpose-driven and also culturally sensitive. I think Mr. Sachin was highlighting about the generation earlier. The current generation is, it is their expectation. As he mentioned, the moment they joined the organization, they wanted what is the progression, what is their career progression in next 2 years, next 4 years. Okay, which hotel is giving me a best positioning after 5 years? Because they have given a lot of opportunities nowadays. I remember during my days in late 90s for a job interview where we need to go to many hotels, we need to walk into the hotels, we need to post CVs, but not now. Now the hotel comes to their place. The entire globe will comes to their place. So that means they have a wide choices. I'm sure Mr. Sachin will agree on it and other professors from panel too. So when we have this kind of, the students are learning in a very diverse or global learning environment, automatically the perceptions, their expectations, their dream aspirations is really big, right? We need to really understand we should not blame them. We should understand the context of their learning environment, which has been really uh, global reach, I can say. So the students can access the knowledge in a fingertip to the global knowledge. So when they educate themselves, when they learn the entire learning journey in a global context, definitely their expectations, their aspirations are bigger. So as a leader, right, I'm going to talk from an academic standpoint. I'm sure that from an industry standpoint, we have other members, especially Mr. Sachin can speak. So in an academic standpoint, how we can really build the leadership skill among the students, which is purpose-driven leadership or culturally sensitive, or how they are committed to people and planet, which is very important nowadays, not just profit. I think we need to look on the piece. Last time the P is more focused on profit, product, everything, but now the P is also people, is also on the planet, not only profit. I think that's what the sustainability is all about. And I think even earlier quote by our panels like transparency, how much you are transparently accountable, how you make your people more accountable and ownership. That's also very important, right? So let me share some example from Taylor's, how we really build the leadership skills to the students. We do have a project called Hotel Takeover Project. Okay, so the students from Nepal, probably they are aware of it. This not only builds this leadership, but also requires them to make ethical decisions, okay, ethical decision in a real time under operational challenges or pressure. Okay, what is that all about? Our group of students of maybe 30 to 40, they need to manage the entire hotel for 1 week from the general manager position to the bottom line under the shadow of the real team. So basically, our students are running the hotel under the shadow of the real team. So what happens is really helps our students to build the leadership skills, which is really important. We have been worked with this Holiday Inn Express Hotel. Even we did with Hilton on a restaurant takeover project. So just giving recently we did with Hyatt. This general manager was really impressive because his name was Mr. Ben. He made the students really challenging with the real scenarios. He created a lot of real scenarios happening in the industry. He just put on place, for example, dead body floating in the swimming pool. So he really made our students to panic and act to the real scenario. And theft, fire alarm. He made the fire alarm. So he really want the 40 over students, how they are going to react. I think this is what we build the leadership skill among our students, right? This is one of the things, how they learn. They are learning in the real setting. It's not like just only theoretical point of view. They're applying the real problem, real situations, right? So basically this helps them to see, okay, as a leader, what is the purpose for me, right? When there is a crisis, what is my purpose driven decision making? When I say purpose driven, it's not only ambitions or you're looking your vision, mission, even on decision making. And another example, what we do in Taylor's, we also do a multi discipline projects in the entire degree. So where our group of students, like what we call as a social innovation projects, uh, they need to work, for example, hospitality students, they need to work with computer architectures across discipline, different interdisciplinary. So they need to come with a project and they need to work together. I think this helps them to broaden their mindset to work in a diverse learning environment. Because those days, when you are an expert in front office, that's good enough. When you are in what we call core skills, you are good in barista, is good enough. But in today's setting, it cannot be. You need to work with multicultural environment, and you need to look how you are going to adapt. I think we need, as a leaders, we need to build also adaptive skills, right? Culturally, because they how they are culturally sensitive, but how they can also easily adapt to the scenarios. Taking from the industry perspective, like Hilton, when they did like travel with purpose, right? They also integrated the CSR projects, right? And another good example I can say from our side, we started a Taylor's Impact Lab since 2022. So what is an Impact Lab in Taylor's? It's not a physical lab. It's a human intelligent lab. It's how we need to work. There is everything is aligned to the SDG goals. So one of the Impact Lab is sustainable tourism. So we cannot solve the entire world problem. So what we have done in the Impact Lab, we try to identify some of the common problem which we can address locally that can have a global impact, which can other countries, they can replicate the same concept and they can apply. So one of the things I think Prof. Elisa was mentioning about the index. We have recently started with testing the sustainable tourism index in the urban areas. So we are trying to test because next year is Visit Malaysia 2026. So we are working with the Tourism Stakeholders Association, taking one of the main happening place in KL, Kuala Lumpur is the Bukit Bintang. So we are working with the Bukit Bintang Stakeholders Associations, and we have already developed Sustainable Tourism Index by our professors from Prof. Mustafa, Prof. Nitya, and others. So which was funded by our Ministry of Education National FRGS funding, which already finished. So we are now trying to test that index, sustainable index in these destinations. I'm sure that is going to be very interesting for us. So all these things can really helps our students to build not only leadership, but also contribution to the society. The whole idea of the Taylor's Impact Lab is how we can make our graduates not graduating just for themselves, rather for the society, right? So when we say a society, how they can contribute to the society. So during the journey, every Impact Lab, they have a project supported by modules. So one of the another example I can say is we are working with the homestay project. We are trying to work with students, take the students for an observatory visit, and they go on stay and experience experiential learning. And we collaborate with the what is the School of Media and Communication from the School of Tourism. So the media and communication, they will come and capture what we are doing, so that they will come with a small video, which can come as a promotional tool for them. So we will contribute back to them. And also we are looking on an agriculture through another school. So what kind of cultural activities they can do to enhance this tourist experience in the homestay, because the people, whenever we talk about homestay, the well-known is always, and they always talk about New Zealand, quite well-known in New Zealand, the homestay, but we have a lot, every country has, but we are not promoting it. Through these projects, probably we will try to bring some kind of improvement in the quality of the life. That's what the purpose is all about. So when we can create an impact on the community people, impact on the life of the quality, and definitely the impact on the students, graduates. Yeah, I can go more. I will stop here. Thank you so much for the listening.
Well, I guess there is no sort tips and tricks.
I do just want to say that, I will be very interested in learning more about your index once it's launched, and perhaps we can share, our effort and also our findings, because people don't realize that, because when you launch an index, they think, okay, this is just another index and other sustainability index. But I can tell you, like, when it is done by an educational institution, it is different. So there's
True,
a
true.
lot of private companies that try to, let's say, hey, we can donate money to you to help you, fund this index, and we have to say no, and we have to work with the limited government funding, because for us, it's more important to be neutral, right? So we want to make sure that our index is really just assessing the true impact of all the sustainability practices. So it's I
Thank
think
you. Thank you.
there's a
Yeah.
lot of hard work. Uh, and I think people don't really appreciate this enough, especially if they're not coming from the educational industry, I guess.
Yes,
Thank you.
definitely.
Thank you, Prof. Lisa, for the invitation. Yes, we'll be happy to collaborate. I think that is one of the outcome of these events. How we can, I think we should thank IMS for connecting us so we can broaden our scope of collaboration.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
not
That's great.
easy. Yeah, not easy to get uh, support from the industry, from the public, from the resident itself. We are facing a lot of issues, but
Mm,
we are trying to work on a different model because of our networking through the association. So at least there is a increased level of support. I cannot
mm.
say fully, but maybe an increased level of support.
Yeah,
Definitely will be happy to share and collaborate. Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. Thanks.
We'd be happy to if you'd collaborate. So, as I was saying, there are no sort tips and tricks to be a successful leader. I guess one has to be one has to be purpose driven. They have to have a long learning journey, the practices. So I kind of relate to this Step 2.0 program, as you were saying, sir, because I work in IMS as an academic counselor, and I get to face with the students, and when they take this program, the hotel takeover program for 1 2 weeks, this it was very helpful because they get to practice in the industry. So yes, and that was an excellent breakdown of essential leadership trait. Thank you, sir. I'd like to move to the next segment, which is future trends in ethical and sustainable hospitality. And I would like to take this question to Professor Siuki Lee. Environmental certifications are becoming increasingly vital in promoting sustainability within the hospitality industry. So, what role do certifications like Green Key and ORCHEC play in setting industry standards?
Um, I I think that's also a very important and probably a difficult question. So, um, and my answer cannot be general, so to say, because certifications in different countries mean different things. Because in some cases they're public. Many countries in Asia they're public. In some countries they're not something that is required by the government and probably issued by the private sector or association, which is also private. So to the extent that it encourages desirable behavior on the firm's part, I think uh, the one that's mandated by law or something close to it by the public sector would be more effective in the short run. Uh, Having said that, I think um, it is probably not very desirable just to, let's say, force it upon the industry and something that requires I think research, and this is where the professors and the academics should come in. But I've also done some research about certification, not related to ESG, but it does have some ESG measurement items inside that evaluation scheme of that certification, which was for guest houses and Airbnbs in Korea. And the what I took from the behavior of the owners of these guest houses was that they would do everything to meet the requirements in order to get certified when they first start working toward that. And then after they do get certified, then there is moral hazard where they might start stacking off. Of course, they have to renew every now and then, so they would step up the efforts every now and then. But in the meantime, you know, you never really know what's happening in between. And the monitoring cost is huge, so you can't expect public or private entities to, you know, continually monitor these schemes. So I guess what I'm trying to say, sorry for deviating, is that it's probably the case that for the best scenario that they feel the need to uh, be certified because they want to be in that, whether they justify that through a new financial model, where if they are certified, they also do financially better, um, and somehow they value as a business, or at least their investors see value in that. And if you have these certifications as a requirement by the government to get some tax breaks or things like that, I think it's probably the case that you'll see immediate effects, but something that is not so sustainable. There's no pun intended here. So yeah, and you can't just monitor everything all the time. And yes, I'm still in doubt as to how to encourage the industry leaders to take the initiative in that. I'm curious, but yes, something that is I think important, and the same goes for I think Korea, where you want to uh, put this into a legal framework, but then you know how to make that sustainable and something that is not treated like a homework by the industry people. That is also something I'm still thinking about. I hope I answered your question. Sorry, I can't hear you.
From a consumer's perspective, do they view the hotels differently if they are certified? Um, am I audible?
Yes,
Should
now
I
you are.
repeat the question? Okay. So from a consumer's perspective, do they view the hotel differently if they are certified? You know, so they are like, are they more profitable in terms of that, or what is it? You know, what role does certifications really play?
Um, the short answer to your question would be yes. I'm assuming that that question is for me. But then among the various certifications, at least the data I looked at, consumers do not really differentiate. So it doesn't matter if it's private, public, something that is from a respectable organization, government. Some certification is good enough, I think, for most consumers. They do not have, I guess, detailed knowledge to differentiate the criteria among these certifications. So many, and the industry people know that. So many of these owners I've talked to would just focus on getting the easiest one, and then, you know, use that for marketing. Yeah. I'm sorry I said this, but
I
yeah.
was
It
intending
would,
to look at the certification framework. So thank you, sir. To Mr. Sachin Pradhan, as a hotel executive, how do you ensure that your team and staff embraces sustainability as a core value?
That's a very good question, in fact. So we should be like the core thing is once it becomes the way of life in your hotel, one will automatically embed it, you know. So once you have that those practices in place, And once you have those things embedded in your standard operating procedure, then it will automatically get embraced. It's like a home, when the discipline is maintained inside your home and your mom says 8 o'clock in the evening is a dinner time, then you make sure that at 8 o'clock you are at the dining table to not make your mom unhappy. So it's the same way we run the organization, wherein if we could embed as a way of working, then it is no more a challenging. But as a hotel operator, as a owner, it is our responsibility to create that environment wherein they are comfortable enough to follow those. That is our more focus on. And once it becomes, as it is way of living, it becomes a part of job. It won't be making you feel that you are taking extra step. It becomes the normal. That's what my point of view is in this.
So it is embedded well in your corporate, I must say. So your
It
insights into
should. Hmm.
So your insights into organizer culture are invaluable. Thank you, sir. So my next question is directed to Dr. Elisha Chan. Technology is rapidly transforming industries, and I won't be wrong in that technology is the next thing. So in the context of hospitality, what technological innovations can accelerate sustainable practice?
Yeah, I try to keep this short because I think we still have a Q&A session. And I also, kind of want to just make this an intro so we can ask the students who are here today because they know much more about how to best use technology. So, but to me, I think an area that we should focus on is maybe how do we use technology to get guests or customers to become more involved in the sustainability practices and initiatives of hotels, right? So currently, I don't think customers are really getting rewarded intrinsically or extrinsically for, let's say, foregoing some convenience and then adopting some of these sustainability practices. But if they do, and let's say just kind of like loyalty programs, if we can somehow track some of these involvement of guests on, let's say, hotels, and then reward them accordingly, perhaps it could be a way to motivate this type of behavior, even though it might really inconvenience them many a times. But I think the students should really be the ones who think about how to better use technology in this rhyme.
So thank you for highlighting these advancements as well. So finally, let's discuss the broader future outlook of sustainability in hospitality. And I would like to hear perspectives from all the panelists in this question. And this will be my final question. So my question is, how do you see sustainability evolving in hospitality over the next decade? Also, please give a brief about the present state of it in your respected areas as well. And I do need an honest perspective on this. Yeah, so I would like to start with Dr. Elisha Chan.
Okay, so I think it's going to become prominent evaluation dimension in service quality.
Then Mr. Sachin Pradhan, what's your take on it regarding the future of sustainability, how it's evolving and how Nepal's market is doing in it?
I would say it's a need of an hour without which we cannot sustain tomorrow.
We need to work on it. It's evolving.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you want to be there in the market, you better work on it.
Very honest review, sir. So, Professor Sukili, what's your take on it? How do you see the evolving hospitality industry in sustainability practices, ethical leadership practices? So your mic is off.
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So I think there's going to be a divide between the ones, especially the industry, where the businesses that can operate with the higher standards of sustainability, so to say, where they can be financially feasible and at the same time, meet the higher standards, and the ones that just cannot. So I guess in not too distant future, there will be a divide where the surviving ones will be the ones who can embrace the enhanced sustainability guidelines, so to say.
Guess survival to the fittest then.
Yes.
Yeah. So finally, um, Professor Kandapan, what's your view on it?
Going last is especially this kind of thought words. I think it's what I can say that human intelligence and the technology intelligence, we need to work together. Maybe what I can say, even then putting the sustainability separately, maybe how we can collaborate is a tech-driven sustainabilities. And we always talk about circular economy, but I think it's a time for us to talk about circular hospitality. How a full life cycle of management of waste and reproduction, everything can be done. Another important thing, how we can make our traveler or customer or guest different contacts as a co-participants in our future. That's very important. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you for your insight, sir. Thank you. I guess we're now open to the floor for our audience. And we have one question for Elisa Chan. Yes, sorry, Dr. Elisa Chan. And the question is?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
Only the faculty has mentioned over here, but the students from the student is.
Okay. So they want to know, as you talked about the younger generation that are more protective about the sustainable practices, but this generation are also the one who uses these resources wisely. So what do you think about this? They using excessive resources and hampering environment.
Well, I think, we shouldn't really just place the responsibility on any generation, right? So I think in general, it's not just particular to the younger generation. We've all done that. And this is why I think this is like a self-corrective type of, like a collective self-corrective motivation and, kind of like a initiative like we all have to adopt. So I wouldn't say it's just the younger generation, but in general, I think people have to be more aware of, how their action and the activities that they choose to do would have an impact on the environment, and then try to reduce our carbon footprint. I know it's a very generic answer, but I think this is really just a kind of like, if we make this a habit, so every single time before you consume something, before you choose an activity, you really do think about, okay, do I have a more sustainable way of conducting the same behavior, right? So I think slowly but surely, then we will improve the general environment together.
I guess one has to feel it, rather than just thinking this is what they have to do, they have to feel it as well. They have to enjoy these practices as well. So thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so today we talked about ethics, integrity, sustainable practices, more than that. And one of our major motive was, to see like the leaders you are, like the active leaders you are, how the industry is embedding these values into their operations. And I think we have got the answers. So as we conclude today's session, I want to thank our incredible panelists for their valuable insights and all of you for your engaging participations. From what we've discussed today, it's clear that ethical leadership and sustainability are not just trends, but essential pillars of successful hospitality business. By making conscious choices, embracing innovation, and leading with integrity, we can collectively create an industry that is both profitable and responsible. So this talk has provided a comprehensive exploration of how industry professionals can integrate these fundamental principles into their operations. So let's take these insights forward and continue the conversation beyond this room. Thank you all for being here today, and I hope you live inspired to make a meaningful impact in the world of hospitality. In Nepali, we say Subhadin, have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much.
So, ma'am.
I'm audible. Thank you, everybody, for your valuable time and contribution for your hospitality leadership talk, March 2025. And thank you so much for everyone, for speakers, students, and faculties and stakeholders. Have a nice day and have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.